I think it's a couple pieces of advice depending on where you are in your journey. If you're a first-time founder and you're just starting or thinking about starting, it can be scary, yes, but it is a wild ride and you have to be ready for a long journey, for sure, and a bumpy one. But I will say, from my own experience, it's worth it. I always wanted a life where I could be creative and free and flexible. And yes, it is stressful and wild, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And I think, I would have kicked myself if I didn't just start. Like, imagine all these years that went by, and if I didn't start, where I would be now just starting a brand. It's just like baby steps. And then for people that have been rejected, especially when it comes to fundraising in particular, like we saw on Shark Tank, and we're going through our fundraising journey, I think the most important message is getting out of your own way. You are not asking for yourself. You are an opportunity.
Welcome to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast, the highly rated digital marketing podcast that provides weekly digital marketing tips and strategies from some of the world's top digital marketers and e-commerce entrepreneurs that will help you take your digital marketing to the next level. Sit back and enjoy this power-packed episode hosted by Arlen Robinson, who is an e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with over 20 years of experience. Hey, e-commerce marketing podcast listener. Are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own affiliate program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. My name is Arlen, and I am your host. And today we've got a very special guest, Vicky Pasche, who is the co-founder and CEO of Dapper Boy, a brand known for turning Shark Tank Rejection into a thriving seven-figure business. Alongside her wife, Charisse, Vicky has become a beacon of resilience and innovation in the fashion industry, inspiring others with her story of success. Welcome to the podcast, Vicky.
Love that. Thank you so much, Arlen. I am so happy to be here.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you for joining us. Yes, really, really excited to talk to you. I think it's going to be a great episode. A lot of times on the episode, of course, we're talking about e-commerce marketing strategies, but I don't have a lot of brands that come on the podcast that can kind of tell us lessons learned from the trenches. And that's why I'm really excited to talk to you, because I think those are some of the most impactful lessons, because, you've kind of been in it, knee deep in running the business and that side of e-commerce marketing. So it's really great to talk to you, because of course, today we're going to be talking about, from your Shark Tank rejection to now being a seven-figure apparel brand, which is quite an accomplishment. So definitely going to be talking to how you got to that. You're welcome. And, excited to dig deep into that. But before we do dive into that, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background and specifically how you got into what you're doing today?
Yeah, sure. So it's interesting. My background is definitely marketing, but I came specifically from casino marketing, which is a completely different world, than fashion. But what I will say is, once I became, in management, and I, headed up an entire marketing team, I had to dress professionally, and I was wearing suits every day. And I realized, at this time in my life is when, there's a lot of big things happening. I had come out, I had chopped my hair, and I started dressing, in the men's department, which was like a scary thing, but like those suits never fit my body. And so the real story behind Dapper Boy and our original logo had a bow tie in it, because we were going to start with suits. But then we realized, at that time when we launched on Kickstarter, it was so much more than suits. It was really like everyday wear, and that was the very first thing I tried on was actually jeans in the men's department. So, without having any kind of fashion background, my wife and I decided to start this brand, Dapper Boy, and that was back in 2015 now.
Oh, wow. Okay. Gotcha. Well, that's quite a story. Thank you for sharing that. And I love to hear brands that have evolved, and kind of a concept for a brand revolves out of the need of the founders. There's so many brands that I've talked to like that, similar to yours, where it was more of an organic growth because of a need that you had yourself. Like you said, you had suits that didn't fit, and you were like, of course, there's got to be something else. There's got to be a better way. And then if you don't see anything out in the marketplace, then you're left with one option or two options: either do nothing and just stick with what's out there,
Right.
or develop something yourself. And that's looks like that's what you did, and
Yeah,
been successful doing that.
definitely. We were going to launch suits actually, but what happened was, honestly, is when we went to Kickstarter, we noticed there were other kind of like similar market brands starting
Okay.
suit companies. And so that's why we
Gotcha.
decided to go back to the drawing board. What was the first thing I tried on, which was jeans. And then I realized it was more than actually just me. I was seeing all of my friends with the same challenges. And that's what gave us kind of like the guts to just like give it a shot, and launch on
Right.
Kickstarter.
Gotcha. Well, that's some good stuff. And as far as where you are today, and your story is really super inspiring. I wanted to see if you could share initially your initial vision behind, the initial Dapper Boy brand, and then how did it evolve post Shark Tank, and if you can tell us a little bit about how your appearance on Shark Tank went, and where did you go from that point moving forward?
Yeah, it's been really evolving since our very beginning. It's interesting, and I kind of want to just backtrack just a little bit because when we started the brand, it was really made for, initially women that look like me, like most likely from the LGBTQ community, more masculine presenting. And we were solving this problem, like women's jeans, for example, like have no function, like there's no pockets, like you can barely get your knuckles in there, and so like that was like solving a problem for so many people beyond my community. It wasn't about being a lesbian, and then there's like the issue of like the buttons. So like on a button up shirt, typically, usually in the chest region for both men and women, there's usually a gap, in that chest area. So we added these hidden snaps to like close the gap. So there's no, peep show for people, And then, what we realized is like, as we were launching these jeans, there were more and more people coming to us from all walks of life. Men, trans folks, women that just say, Vicky, I have the same exact problem actually as you. So that's when we really morphed into this like all gender brand. It wasn't androgynous. It wasn't for queer people. It was for everybody. And we really, our mission changed to like change the whole history of fashion. I mean, think about it. When you walk into a department store, you have two options. It's the men's section and the women's section, which are all embedded with these societal rules and norms based on your gender that we don't even question because that's just what we're used to. So that, our whole goal here, and we say it, and this is after Shark Tank too, is like, we're going to be the next Levi's of all gender fashion. And this is a real thing. And so to go, a brand like us to go on Shark Tank, no, unfortunately we did not get a deal, but probably was the best thing that could have happened. And at the same time, a small brand like us to get that mainstream stage was such a huge deal. And the people that were reaching out after that were, affected by that in the best way possible. So it's been nothing but positive, results, since being on the show. What a wild experience.
Yeah, I could imagine. And that's good to know. And I always think that when I watch the show, as I was mentioning before we were recording, I'm a huge Shark Tank fan. I think I've watched every single episode from every season. So
Wow.
I'm kind of diehard. And I definitely, when you requested to be on the show, I definitely recognized you, and I remember the episode. And, just the fact, like you said, to just be on there, regardless of getting a deal or not, gives you a huge amount of visibility. And I know that, that alone has done, a lot for the business, and, helped you facilitate contacts and growth strategies, stuff like that. And it's definitely impressive, to be on there. And, like you said, the impressive thing that I see is being able to keep your core mission intact, after the show. And then, that I know requires a lot of resilience and creativity, and still moving on and not really getting discouraged. Because a lot of times I see brands that have been on there, they don't get a deal. And then, you can kind of almost tell just when they do the little wrap up at the end, just their whole demeanor that, they just can feel a bit of rejection and they don't kind of know where to go. They feel that it's almost their last hurrah, so to speak. But it's good to know that, you kept it moving.
Totally. And I think, for us, I did feel that way in that moment. It's such a build up to go on the show. And, we were really hoping for Damon, honestly, because,
Right.
he had
Yes.
FUBU and he gets it, but,
Sure.
he did at the end give us his like contact information to be a mentor, which was awesome, to
Okay,
especially
awesome.
to show that on television, was such a great
Right.
thing. And at the same time, what a lot of people don't know is that morning, even though we were in the there had been a lot that had going on with the brand at that point. We were on this like uphill trajectory of like, bootstrapping over $1 million in sales year after year. And then that year when we went on Shark Tank, we had almost lost it all. We had sold our
Oh,
home.
wow.
Like it was just some crazy times because of the production delays we were experiencing, like so many others with COVID. But that happened to be our year that it really affected us, with no new product launches. It was just crazy. So that day, we were coming from a place of desperation. I feel like, sometimes that can come out and nothing good can come from that, but
Yes.
at the same time, what people don't know is we actually signed on with our lead investor, a 250K investment that same morning of filming,
Oh,
which
wow.
was like such
Okay.
a high. Yes. Yeah. We were down to the wire that day, like going to Shark
I
Tank.
see.
And I think they said on the show, like we were down to our last $100, like
Oh,
couldn't,
wow.
gas to get to the show. It was like that kind of situation. But we got our lead investor that day and then also the exposure from Shark Tank. So it's been nothing but up ever since. And it's just exciting times. And I did want to
Yeah.
share, one of the stories that came out of Shark Tank. And this is what I mean by like a brand like us trying to go mainstream and why it's important. So we're proud lesbian owners, my wife and myself, Charisse. And at the same time, it's not about being a lesbian, but it is about belonging. And so one of the messages we received from, it happened to be a lesbian woman that had an estranged relationship from her father due to her lifestyle, and they hadn't spoken for years, but he happened to be an avid Shark Tank watcher. And she messaged us to thank us because it opened up the door for their relationship. He literally messaged 3 words: check out Dapper Boy. And that was the start of like their relationship. So like these kind of
Okay, wow.
stories, because he saw it on a mainstream stage and that kind of impact for him was like, relatable, to his own
Right.
life. And so like, this is what the change we're trying to make. I mean, we're changing people's lives here, their self-worth and their confidence. And that is everything and why we do what we do.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, because like you said, I could imagine immediately after that, feeling down and rejected. But it sounds like with you guys, you already had the other deal in place that you knew you were going to be able to keep things going, and you just you kept moving with your ambition and the encouragement from all others. And it's awesome that some of the other sharks, like you said, Damon, reached out to you and able to, even though they didn't get an investment, definitely, just being able to ask them a few things. I'm sure it goes a long way, especially from someone that's at that level. Well, yeah, that's been great. Now, as far as, let's say, transitioning from the point of, like you said, down to the last couple $100 in your guys' account to right before you came on the Shark Tank, and then now achieving 7-figure success. That's a monumental task, a monumental goal that you guys achieved. What would you say are some key strategies or changes that you implemented that have significantly impacted Dapper Boy's growth?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is kind of getting out of your own way, to be honest.
Okay.
And I know that for me personally, I felt like for so many years that I needed to figure it all out myself, and I didn't know that only 1.7% of women-owned businesses are hitting over $1 million a year in sales. And I thought
Oh,
that
wow.
I was just never ready to qualify for any kind of conversation with an investor. I didn't come from money, and so like those conversations were always so scary, for me. And so I,
Mm.
again, felt like I just needed to, which was a good thing at the same time, because I literally know every job in this company, that we've worked completely from the ground up, not having this fashion background, doing every single job. So that was good. But like
Mm.
I should have been, connecting and networking with people and, having the essential help, that we needed. But I will say, so we've done just under $4 million in the last 4 years,
Okay.
bootstrapped, my wife, myself, and two part-time employees. And how we were able to
Mm.
do that was with marketing. And marketing, I believe, is everything. It's how we make decisions, big decisions, what we eat, what we purchase, like how, every way of life here. And it sometimes has such a negative connotation. But for us, it's about connection. It's connection with our customers. And yes, Shark Tank gave us that kind of validity, where people are like, oh, dang, they're on Shark Tank. But we haven't changed, who we are at our core and how we connect with our customers. And I think for us is like, we always think about, no matter how big we are and how big we're going to get, that people feel like they can always reach out, and that we are personable, relatable, and that, they can feel confident, when they're with us. And so for us, it was relatable videos, content,
Okay.
community, getting people involved. When we're talking about the problems that we're solving here, we're solving them immediately. We have zero political agenda. We are just raw and authentic and real and vulnerable with our journey. And I think people just relate to that.
Yeah, that's good to know, and I see that with a lot of brands that have had success like yours, and I've talked to other brand owners that have been on the podcast about being relatable, being transparent with everything that you're doing, and really using your customers as, keeping them front and center with the direction that you're going based on, the needs that they have, and not being like, when you get really large as a large brand. I know some of these huge corporate brands, even though they try to implement strategies to be relatable to their end customers and, try to build that community, sometimes it can come off being, not authentic. And if it cannot
Yes.
seem like they're doing it just to do it, just because, growing a community is the thing to do these days. But it sounds like with you guys, it's truly how you started, and you're continuing to cater to your community, and to grow your brand with them in mind. So that's always good to know.
Yeah, I think it's about being your best, most vulnerable self. It's not coming always from a place of desperation either. It's like showing the authentic journey in the most real way, in the most positive way. And so I think people connect to that and they just want to get on board, and
Yeah.
that's been amazing.
Yes, definitely. Now, of course, in the apparel industry, most people know that it is super competitive. It's definitely picked one of the most competitive industries that are out there. So, what would you say are some unique challenges that you guys faced in carving out a specific niche for Dapper Boy, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I think it's still something that we face here, is that
Okay.
we're not just this, lesbian brand. It's like it's getting people to think outside of the box, and this breaking the whole binary, way of thinking. And so, for us, it started within our own LGBTQ plus community, because they get it, and a lot of folks in that community, like, we're able to cater to. And it's now, what does our messaging look like for each of these customer personas? As we're thinking about marketing and paid ad strategies, it's thinking about what would they want to hear. I think it's interesting, because I think men, for example, aren't used to hearing words like inclusive when it comes to clothing, or gender. A lot of those words can be
Mhm.
so triggering, so like, how can we effectively communicate to these, you know potential customers here in the way that relates to them? And so that is
Yeah.
something, that we're doing right now, and it seems to be working, but it's, a work in progress all the time. But I
Right.
believe with every part of my core here, that our mission of being the next all gender, you know, Levi's essentially is going to happen, and we're going to do
Mhm.
everything to make that happen.
Yeah, I hear you for sure. Now, one of the things that always comes up, and I might as well ask you as far as marketing is concerned, because that's really what's been driving your business.
Hmm.
You know, might as well address the elephant in the room, and that's AI. AI is really kind of the talk of everything these days, from marketing to the way it's just starting to change our world in such a huge pace. How have you guys embraced AI technologies in any form for any of your marketing strategies, or is that something that you guys haven't kind of wrapped yourselves around yet?
We have actually, and we're in some big, really exciting project right now. But I will say, from a marketing perspective, we're still a very small team. So we
Okay.
utilize AI, and it's been awesome it's just surprising how, we can teach it our brand voice so well. And it does such a great job with like emails or like social media content and stuff like that. So we definitely utilize AI, of course, with humans involved as well. I think that's also key in that equation. But
All right.
as for future stuff, what we're working on right now is utilizing AI as for like our fitting, like when you're coming to
Okay.
our website. And so, um, our goal is actually to stay direct to consumer until retail is ready for a brand like ours. And we're having those
Mhm.
conversations as well. But, how can we make it the most efficient process when you're shopping, when we are truly hybrid sizing, and to,
Mhm.
help the returns rate, go down. And so I think with that, right now we're partnered with a technology company called Couture Technologies, and we're
Okay.
working on this like first time ever genderless avatar, which you never see. Like
Mm.
it's always you have to choose man or woman. And so
Right.
this will eventually you'll be able to see exactly how the outfit would look on your body with a heat map of like where it's tight and where it's not or loose. And you'll be able to
Okay.
share those looks with your friends on social media and build like a complete wardrobe. So we definitely
Okay.
are going down that tech, uh, you know, journey, and there's
Yes.
a lot to learn as we go here, but I think this is going to be the way of the future, especially for such a all gender inclusive style brand.
Yeah, I can definitely see that for sure. Yeah, that sounds like some really awesome stuff, and it's good to know that you guys are embracing that early, especially as an e-commerce brand, because a lot of times, I've talked to so many different brands over the years, and a lot of times I've seen brands that have been slow to adopt some of these changes in technology, and they regret it later. And so it's
Yeah,
good to know that you guys are kind of jumping in early, which is I think what you need to do as a brand for sure.
definitely.
Now, speaking of technology, you of course talked a lot about community and how important that is to your brand, catering to your community, being transparent, being authentic. Are there any specific strategies um, that you kind of utilize with social media to really grow your community, foster it? Are there any technology tools that you're using to keep people in touch and to kind of grow this, I guess you could say, virtual community online that's essentially wrapped around your whole e-commerce presence?
Yeah, and I think it actually goes back to our beginning and how we were able to like launch this whole thing. And it's
Okay.
something we have kind of kept at our core ever since that really seems to work. And so when we launched the brand again without that fashion background and launching a pair of jeans, like literally we had two pairs that we were putting out there. We launched on Kickstarter, and that's a great place to, develop community. But how are you going to just find these people? So what we did in the very beginning was we relied on our friends and family first, and we went to like Facebook, literally went to all of our friends. And there was an app at the time, and I don't remember the name of it, and I don't actually know if it still exists, but it was like some kind of flash mob post. And so
Okay.
basically, we had pre-written a post, for the launch along with our video, and we had said, "Hey, we are launching this brand. Could you opt in, to agree to put up this post at this day at this time?" And it was literally like hundreds of people just flash mobbed that post, and that
Oh
just
wow.
got us off and started us at the races here. And we have
Okay.
people from that Kickstarter campaign. I think it was over 300 people. Um, I think it was over 300. It's so long ago now, but we raised over 26 grand, for our very first production. And then
Okay.
from
Wow.
there, we went over to our own Shopify website, and we kept that same kind of pre-order like FOMO process. And so what worked for us and how we were able to test our products utilizing our community is we would literally make a sample, like 2 sizes only. Let's call it a button-up shirt. And we would have our friends model, and we would make videos showing the problem immediately with like, the chest gap and like the ill-fitting shirts from the men's department, and like immediately hitting that problem. And then we would go out to our email database and we'd say, hey, everybody, you only have 3 weeks to get in on this campaign. And we would collect, pre-orders so that we would save enough for the production. And we would just sell out, and it would create FOMO because people knew, one, we were going to sell out, and that's when they could get in on a special intro price only for 3 weeks. So that's how we built this brand. We were just launching, and then we were adding launches. It was at first, it started slow, maybe 1 a quarter, then it was once a month, and then it was once a week, to the point where we were doing like 185K a month, in sales. Wow. And so that was huge for us. And so our email was everything. We were doing, we still do like campaign emails, or a mixture of, weekly emails, 3 a week. We're not shy to, reach out to customers, since the market is so convoluted with so many emails and messages, text, our app. And our goal now is to, keep these staple products in stock all the time: jeans, chino pants, button-ups, but then continue our limited drops. So people, again, feel that FOMO, but also building this new wardrobe, based on our core collection. And I know that for us, our repeat customer rate is 51%, which is awesome, for fashion e-com. I think the goal would be like 28%. We're hitting 51%. And our email, is 53% of our revenue, which is a little high. So we're really focusing now on, reaching out to new customers, to turn them into repeat customers.
Yeah, good to know. And yeah, it seems like you guys have really embraced a lot of different things, which is good to hear for the brands that are listening, and with your email especially, because, a lot of times, and it's really strange. I've had this conversation with other marketers before, how it's almost like email has really had almost a resurgence, really, if you will. I mean, because there was a point where, when SMS came into the market and people were saying, okay, is that going to take over communications? Is email going to go away? Is it going to die? And that always comes up every now and then. But I think now it's bigger than ever. I think, and it seems like you guys have really fully embraced that and have been using that as a main vehicle to communicate with your customers.
Yeah, we utilize different avenues for different platforms for different things, and we'll do like special like VIP drops, or like if you're an app user, you'll get an additional discount, and like there's different pluses for each platform. But we are utilizing messages throughout, like we have a flash sale, for example, going on, and we'll use email, and certain emails go to, obviously, like VIPs get a extra discount, or like the app users get like first dibs. There's different ways we can utilize each one, and it works for us very well.
All right, that sounds good. Well, Vicky, as we get ready to wrap things up, looking back at your journey, from Shark Tank to now, what advice would you give entrepreneurs facing, similar rejections, similar setbacks in their ventures? What would be that one piece of advice?
Yeah, I think I have a couple pieces of advice depending on where you are in your journey. If you're a first-time founder and you're just starting or thinking about starting, it can be scary, yes, but like it is a wild ride, and you have to be ready for a long journey, for sure, and a bumpy one. But I will say, from my own experience, it's worth it. I always wanted a life where I could be creative and free and flexible. And yes, it is stressful and wild, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And I think, I would have kicked myself if I didn't just start. Like, imagine all these years that went by, and if I didn't start, where I would be now, just starting a brand. It's just like baby steps. And then for people that have been rejected, especially when it comes to fundraising in particular, like you saw on Shark Tank, and, we're going through our fundraising journey, I think the most important message is getting out of your own way. You are not asking for yourself. You are an opportunity It's not for your own personal your bank account here. You're asking for your business, your community, your customers, and so sometimes you can get in your head with that, but all those no's, were meant to be, and you just got to keep moving on and keep going, because right around the corner, it could be a lot of sunshine.
For sure. That's a great piece of advice. And yes, you never know. And I like what you said about getting out of your own way. And then when you're fundraising, you're in that phase of it, not coming to it like, okay, you're asking for yourself, proving that, you have a community behind you, and there's an opportunity for, these investors that, when you look at it like that, you're really valuing your worth a lot more than just, coming to these investors pitching, and it's almost like, with your hand out, but it's not the case, because, you have the worth of your brand, you have the community, which is established. You're giving them an opportunity to join you on that journey. And it's good to look at it like that. I think that's a great piece of advice for any entrepreneur.
Thank you. Yeah, I think with investors too, it's a long relationship, and not just taking any check, no matter how desperate you feel. Like, you both bring value to the table here, and
Right.
Sticking with your vision is also a big one, when just right along with that.
For sure. Well, this has been an awesome conversation, Vicky. It's been an incredible journey that you have, and you're still on it and doing really big things. So I'm definitely going to keep my eye on your guys' brand and kind of see where you take it to the next level. So definitely kudos to you. Lastly, before we do let you go, I always like to shift gears here just a little bit so our audience can get to know you a little bit better. If you don't mind sharing one closing fun fact about yourself that you think we'd be interested to know.
Yeah, let's see. There's a lot of weird ones. I would say that I love 90s R&B and karaoke, like, so much. I'm like a Jodeci, Boys to Men, like, even when working out, like, that's my jam.
Gotcha.
And I'm not good at karaoke, but I love doing it and being like this crazy performer. So yeah.
Gotcha. That's good stuff. Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of 90s R&B myself. I kind of went to college during that period when you had the groups, the Jodeci's, the SWBs, all those groups. I was a big fan back then, and I still am these days. So I'm always, if you were to look at my playlist on Spotify, you'd be like, okay, this guy was he was a fan around that time. So yeah, that's good to know. Thank you for sharing that. Definitely some good music that you can always keep going back to. Lastly, before we do indeed let you go, Vicky, if anyone wants to reach out to you and pick your brain any more about your incredible journey or about marketing and e-commerce business, what would be the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, they can reach me on LinkedIn for sure, Vicky Pasche.
Okay.
Definitely follow us on Dapper Boy Instagram. But I would say Charisse and I, where you could reach us personally on Instagram, we recently started an Instagram account called Meet the Pasches. And so we're really showing behind the scenes of, growing this brand. And so that's another great way.
Okay, gotcha. Good stuff. Well, we'll definitely have the link to your site and have your social handles in the show notes on the podcast, as well as on our YouTube channel as well. And so thank you, Vicky. It was really been a pleasure talking to you. We really appreciate you coming on the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast.
Thank you so much, Arlen. It's been a blast.
Thank you for listening to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know. Are you looking to take your digital marketing to the next level, but are tired of weeding through countless YouTube videos with unproven and untrusted marketing strategies? Well, we have the answer for you. The More Sales Every Month online digital marketing course. In this information-packed course, you will learn effective keyword research, link building, content marketing, and much more to attract and convert your site visitors into paying customers. Just go to moresaleseverymonth.com and sign up today for a low one-time fee. In addition to this power-packed course, if you would like to get access to a growing repository of digital marketing articles, PDFs, and ebooks, check out getosi.com/resources and opt in to get full access to our library of priceless marketing information to help you take your digital marketing to the next level.